I understand. I understand that definitely the industry needs a very fast way to acquire skills and get the final result. But I'm a big fan of foundations. So for me, having a full-time faculty, getting the foundations strong makes more sense than just rushing through to get the pay and get into the industry. So I need to put little more thoughts.
Yeah, I partly agree with that, that. So why, what, let's maybe put all these, when we analyze these newer programs, let's put
Mhm.
one, do they have a vision, a mission? What is it that they want, right? Because when I go to the site, Ashoka's Vedika program shows that mission to me right away at the start. When I go to this, STOA, it just feels like it's one of those startups that came in that is trying to provide something which is required at that point in time. So maybe it came during this time of COVID and you're trying to really provide something. Where is that going? Is that really going in a continuation? Are they proposing something that is, they're seeing some opportunity, they're filling in some gap? Is that even what we should be looking at, right? So it's good to see these things, but is that really our benchmark? Is that really our, competing? We need to understand that. Um, and we need to understand what do we want to build, right? Just something that is good for us right now, the get go, to think about because when we're looking at an MBA program, we're looking at an LBS, or we're looking at an NCR. So if that is our competition, or that's our benchmark, are we building something there? Because these things are going to keep coming, and maybe they are fixing something which is required for the industry. Why? And that's why industry folks are probably with them, and they've had that discussion that you don't need more than 24 weeks, maybe, right? So you don't need more than 6 months for pushing these guys into doing certain things. And so they're filling that gap. Maybe they're not the program which we should be looking for. I mean, it's great to see them, and we could pick up certain pieces from them, but maybe that's not our competition, or that's not what we should be, what I meant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my take is, Dhaval, that the STOAs of the world will get the first few cohorts, but they may struggle after. And I think Vedika does have a vision. I've interacted with Radhi a few times. Right or wrong, she has a belief system and she's executed on that belief system. Um, I clearly believe that, like Seema, an academic core is essential. Serious knowledge is different. I mean, that way, frankly, Dhaval, I can open up, the Hansa School of Management tomorrow, and that doesn't, make it anything worthwhile. So we can, but that's not education. And education is a big promise that we have to have a grounding vision for, and that we then need to carefully put together the blocks of. So that's my thought. Seema, excuse me for just a couple of minutes. Seema, you're running through the program details, right?
Yeah, that was just to update you of yesterday's discussion with Hansa. So we went to the whole structure and we thought, yeah, the structure is like 16 to 24 months. 16 months is for a people who will have a stop at the live action project, and 24 months is people who wants to continue and do the internship. And that timeline and all, I'll give it in a table when we prepare a PPT. So our main things yesterday were like we need to find um, alliances for us to make it like a global, not just in a curriculum, but making people to go out and study. And some minute changes in the acad that I'll be working with. You also have a look. She more or less agreed with these four clusters. This is for the foundations that we have had. I have put the courses in these four clusters. You please have a look and tell me how does it sound. This is only for the foundation year. It is rigorous and they have to undergo a lot of courses, like 10 to 12 courses, because we have only like a 16 months program. No? So ideally the curriculum will be only for like a 12 months.
Yeah. So I think this is I really like this piece where we are talking about to start with global world, the macro, micro, um, financial markets understanding. So this foundation piece is going to be for 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months.
Okay.
So
Operations
in
management law and
this,
policies. Okay.
so my plan is, see, if you see, there are more than 15 courses here. So, but giving a option for students to choose, we will keep some cap, like 3 courses or 3 courses from each cluster. We'll ask them to choose. If I give them like a 5 courses, I'll ask them to choose 3 courses so that they will have the choices even in the foundation year. I know operation wise, I'm not sure, I'm not going there. I'm just theoretically on the paper I'm talking. But when it comes to operations and the implementation, yeah, it will be a different challenge altogether we will have with respect to the faculty, because people coming and teaching the same subject, it is very difficult to get. So in that case, we have to go and watch for a visiting faculty that time. So that we'll think later, but at least let us get the theory right and on the paper right first. Is That's how I work. And if you have any other thing that you think it is required for the new age technologies, please let me know. These are the things that I thought it is essential. But if you think anything else needs to be added, please let me know, especially in this cluster. You're on mute, Dhaval.
Yeah. So I was going to say that, new age technologies are very important, having some basics, I feel something to do with even digital marketing should sort of go in, because today I think for any of these leaders who are going out there, at least knowing digital marketing, or what are some of the methods, and I feel like it's just become important to push something to that extent for an overview sort of class. So either it can be an elective or whatever, they can, but at least it should be out there. um AI, ML also, what are the where are we positioning, these students, like what are the sort of major areas, right, for a global MBA? So I was going to say one is strategy, um so that they can go into like think tanks, consulting, some of those things.
Hey, sorry, Dhaval. You just
No, no,
pushed
it's
me
okay.
out.
It's okay.
Yeah, yeah, you were telling something.
So just saying finance, marketing, strategy. So if these are going to be your main areas,
Mm-hmm.
uh, then I feel we have to think about the coursework also, which is attuned to this. So that means basics of accounting, basics of finance, what you need in your first 6 months of your foundation, uh,
Mm-hmm.
is what we will have to sort of put in place, and then
Mm-hmm.
those 5 or 6 areas which we're going to give them for
Mm-hmm.
16-month program. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, can we freeze on those, and then it'll become easier for us to get these, the coursework for the 6 months, 6 plus 6, and then 4 that we are doing,
Makes
right?
sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So I was thinking that if we can freeze that, and Hansa, if you think that there is any perspective on that, but I have seen strategy, finance, marketing is of course your key areas that most of them will say that we should look at. I'm talking again, not only from a global perspective, but from an Indian perspective as well. Now, do we want to give these students who are graduating also an option of possibly having an employer who even says, I'm sitting in Singapore, I want to hire this kid, right? So are we going to even go to that level and give that feasibility to, because let's face it, there are Singapore companies, there are US companies who are outsourcing from India, right? So they want to get certain, sort of leaders on board to run certain processes. Even if they take freshers, there should be some training program. As a matter of fact, I was going to say within a part of this entire piece, we need to have a complete soft skill development, that's done for these kids so that they can very effectively communicate, whether it's, business etiquette, professional communication, all those pieces should be covered. So there should be either a class, every semester that focuses on building that up for them. So if there are 4 semesters, 4 classes that go in, which are compulsory, that means, you should at least in a semester have 4 or 5 classes where you have to attend. Maybe it's like 2 credits or something, but you have to attend it every semester where you're really talking about these pieces, making them sort of industry ready.
So we absolutely. So I think two very interesting, three, in fact, very interesting thoughts there, Dhaval. The first is this idea of aligning to the key functions that we're looking at. And here I have actually a question for both you and Seema, that in addition to marketing, finance, and strategy, how much weightage do we give to entrepreneurship? Do we want a separate focus on entrepreneurship given the kind of catchment area that we're operating in? As far as your idea of offering international placements, Dhaval, if we can pull that off, it's a game changer. It's a phenomenal game changer.
Precisely.
At- It's, at the very minimum, we should have tie-ups with international companies that are looking at investing in India, so that if they are hiring for India, clearly we should become an area of choice, a school of choice. If we can take it to the next level, which is employment abroad, I think we would have changed the model completely.
Yeah.
And finally, on skills, I agree with you that I think, in fact, what I was suggesting is, there are a lot of programs which give employment at a very basic frontline level,
Mm,
and they offer a lot of skilling. We have to
mm,
distinguish ourselves from those. So the thought here is that we look at building a skill component into every one of the clusters that Seema has envisaged. So, uh, whether it is analytics for the IT cluster, or whether it is something akin to business communication for the marketing cluster, we need to have skilling, but of a very different kind. Not what is offered either at an undergrad level or what is offered for vocational courses. So we need to differentiate our skilling by integrating them with the functional clusters.
mhm.
So I think, Seema, yesterday we spoke about that briefly.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
we
you
did.
made a yeah. So
Yeah.
kind of covered that ground yesterday. And finally, of course, there's this idea that we create a flagship course. Everybody's got similar sounding courses up there and running, but we
Mhm,
create a Samyam course, not the full-fledged program, the degree program,
mhm,
but a
mhm,
short course which looks at
mhm,
how concentration, whatever, dhyan, dharan, samadhi, and this is, I was doing some reading, Dhaval. So this is the Samkhya school of philosophy and Raj Yoga that look at that possibly Samyam has its roots in. But we create a Samyam leadership skills course, which is really curated specially for this program. And we're known for that. So I'm saying, can we create some, really mind-blowing short courses that nobody else is doing?
And the
Yeah,
target
that is a good
audience,
idea.
sir,
Good idea.
and we are targeting to like, is it open for undergrad, masters, and everyone,
So,
or
okay, I
do we
think
have any?
no, I think here it's a vocabulary and a semantics issue. I'm thinking of a program as being the full degree, and a
Okay,
course
okay.
is each one of the courses that you're considering within this. So I'm saying within the scope of the MBA program,
Oh, okay, okay.
we have now let's freeze our language on this one. It's just as you have analytics or you have any other uh, course component, this would be
Okay, okay. Get it. Okay.
course component. So it's a flagship component.
Okay, okay.
I
Sorry,
think this is
I
the
mistook
conflict
it. Yeah.
between American, British, Indian uh, language on what a program is actually called. So in India, it's just a degree, but I think the UK refers to it as a program, the US refers to it as a course. So I'm saying, uh,
Mhm.
along with the 4 clusters,
Huh.
we have one course
Mhm.
which is created by Samyam for Samyam and is not offered anywhere else.
Okay, okay,
Seema, I'm
okay.
a nightmare on this, but could you add A behind that Samyam? No. So it's Samyama.
Samyama. Oh, you told me last time also, like when we write, it has to be adding. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'll keep this in mind. Yeah.
And I will try not to drive everyone around the bend with it.
Okay. Mm. I'm just thinking what kind of.
If we can do international placements, Dhaval Mehta, you have just changed the game completely.
That's what I'm saying, that there is so much opportunity. If we don't get distracted, no, there's so much opportunity in going the right way.
Yeah.
So as long as we don't when I look at programs like STOA and there's like quantum, there's something called quantum that came up with this MBA thing, a while ago, and people are these are all very distractive things. They are just filling a gap in some sense. But when we're looking at traditional education, we're looking at a
Absolutely.
university that can offer, an entire, say, imagine when we are asking someone to join this certificate program, we're saying you're going to get access to the alumni base at Bharati Vidyapith, right? So this is what we're giving you. We're giving you so many other things. And that's of course our big sell is that we've got this legacy. We've understood that we need to do this for, imagine that we take a case study of these kids who come from backgrounds who are so raw, and we completely change and transform these kids in those 16 months. And this program does such a fantastic job so that they could actually be at some of these great companies. And that by itself would be, Hansa, if I would put it, um, a real aspirational, sort of certification, right, for an MBA, right, or a post, is what to an extent ISB did. It gave an opportunity for someone who even came from a very small city to aspire big, to go to one of those really big banks, have a beautiful house, have their family who comes from a very small place, to feel like, wow, you could actually reach those dreams. I think that aspiration is what should be our sort of mission statement out also for all those who are considering that MBAs, that we're giving you something which is really aspirational, and we're going to have a diverse cohort. So whether you come from, a place like, um, you know, say a place like Nashik, or, somewhere else, or even the smaller, really smaller cities, um, and you're from a business family who aspire you to do really well in your life, uh, this is your opportunity, that you might be even in business, but when your parents will see you through going through a coursework like this and actually working at a company doing very well, you can bring those pieces back to your business, or you can still continue and you have that career option for yourself, and you can build your life. So that much freedom is what we want to, aspire to. I feel like if you're able to give that narrative and that dream to a student, and if we are able to implement that really on ground level, I feel that is what will drive people. Because today I feel that is still a story, right? Even for those who are graduating, imagine the Ashokas and the, so, right, I still see this. Maybe those from the Ashoka and the Kriyas will want a master's program where, so they will be looking at the masters at an Ashoka, maybe, but is that going to drive them to that level? Or a 16 months program like this, which could be a differentiator, and we already have a feeder. We could have a feeder of these kids coming from such places also, right? Who really look at a 16-month program.
I think this the difference here, Dhaval, is that for an Ashoka, they are trying to build diversity, right? So by having taken a particular position, they are identified with a particular segment, and now they are admittedly doing a good job of building diversity on campus. In our case, we are positioning ourselves as naturally diverse. We are saying that we are being created for that. We keep talking about it for the mainstream, and giving them a different kind of communication, different kind of education, right? So, as you say, that is a story waiting to be told. And if we get it right, this can actually be far larger than an Ashoka. Yeah. So it's very impactful. Uh, between Seema, you and I, we clearly are seeing a hardcore academic program, which is really sound. Like I said, the STOAs will get the first few cohorts, but the offering is a bit hollow. We're building inside out. We're actually saying we're starting with a really strong program, and then we hope it will grow organically.
And my experience of seeing, MBA programs run is you need a sufficient amount of time in the MBA to really not just benefit you, but benefit the cohort. Because the more that you're seeing each other, the more closer you're going to be. And the more closer you're going to be to the university or the program or the faculty who actually supported you through. Um, so 6 months sometimes feels a very short time. It just feels like it's an industry plug.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, like you said, Vedika is a stronger program. It has academic groundings. Uh, these are market trends that we need to look at, but I don't think they should significantly influence us.
Yeah, yeah. No, but it's good. It's good. As a matter of fact, I'm glad that you were bringing some of these things up, because I feel we need to see what's around us at least. And if there's some aspects of it which we can include in this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, uh, you know, at its heart, the MBA will have some similar academic structure. right? We need to see how we can add a few more components to align with our positioning. Like I said, we will do skill, but we will do skill differently. We will do
Mhm.
leadership, but maybe we can do leadership differently in a way that appeals to and is a natural fit with the audience we're looking at. Um, just wanted to confirm, Dhaval, I pick up a very strong sense of entrepreneurial families being a possible audience for this program.
Sure.
And do we want to cater to them specifically by having an entrepreneurship and family business stream? Um, like
I think
that, I think it's a good possibility.
my only thing is that, I don't want it to be known for that. That's my worry. I don't want it to be tagged, so this is a good conversation that we need to have, is because we should rather not do that. So maybe giving a track as an option, we can put it, but I want to consciously avoid it, because that could really make people feel, oh, that's the program where you can't then consider, because then we're saying that maybe it's a track that could be something that's separate, but when you start the program, maybe we can leave it as saying strategy, finance, marketing, as three core focuses, with then have, and maybe entrepreneurship as having another focus. And then, as I was saying, having something like real estate, healthcare, all of that is like 1 year sort of programs that you are actually running, as certificates, rather than doing like a master's around it, or bringing them into this track. um, I feel that, that might not really, because you need to have traditional programs which are really very core to core. See, core businesses haven't changed. Everyone needs someone in marketing. Someone needs in, there's a need in strategy. So, and let them pick two. If they want to combine marketing and strategy, they want to combine finance and entrepreneurship, let them, give them an option to do that. Um, maybe I think, you could look at NYU as how, I was going to just tell Seema, just look at NYU's MBA program.
Mhm.
That is very nicely kind of, built up.
Okay.
The full-time MBA gives you that, sort of, I would say, when you go and look at the curriculum, and you will actually see that how they've sort of built it up. So
Okay.
they say 20 plus select up to 3 specializations from 20. So I'll just drop this also in our group.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not
So,
saying you have to do 20 and all of that stuff. I'm just saying ultimately that's also your differentiating factor if you're giving, is what is it that is going to build your USP, right, on your curriculum side, which the others are not providing you. See, it's not necessarily important to just tie up with an organization, and I think if we maybe identify by building our curriculum based on how some of these guys are seeing theirs, like at Northwestern, Kellogg. I mean, what's the draw for students going to these top? So that, in the US they're called M7 institutions, the top 7 institutions who everyone wants to apply to, or programs. And typically the starting pay from all these are about 200 to 50,000 with the sign-in bonuses. So this is just giving you a sense of why, because it's just how they're built out. Maybe we don't have to do everything similarly, but if you look at, say, a Northwestern, and you look at an NYU, you will see that differentiation.
Okay.
so I just want to add, Seema, that Babson is well known for entrepreneurship, and maybe we could, double building on what you said, position entrepreneurship as as entrepreneurship and a startup environment, not towards the family business trend, but more towards a startup ecosystem. Yeah, yeah. Dhaval, you're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I was just so if you look at what I like about how MBA programs and these M7s put it, is they'll call their USPs like they've called something called launch, is our introduction to the NYU Stern MBA experience. And then if you
Mhm.
see how their core is, everyone's core will be slightly different, where here they've chosen to make it a little bit more quantitative, or like sort of, see, it has focus on statistics and data analysis, so that's
Mhm.
required. So do you want to make sure it's sort of there, as our core? um then it says choose between your menu core of data science, firms and markets, foundation of finance, global. So what I was going to tell you is that while we are looking at the curriculum, just see some of these M7 universities in terms of how they're really looking at this. We don't necessarily have to tie up with the university to just get that brand built up. It'll help, but I think if we already think along their lines of how they're doing it, no, um, it'll also come across as we're the first ones who are thinking about this. So India, like how we think Make in India going global, we're building our thought process of how we can do this here as well and make it global eventually.
Okay.
So they've come up, see, if you see, strategy again is in a main core. Operations management, also very important. In India, if you're talking about Make in India, maybe having an operations management focus and hence having statistics and data analysis is important. I know how many kids today in India will, from businesses of theirs, because imagine so many of them running businesses, they want the
Mhm.
next generation to go through operations management in their MBA curriculum.
Yeah.
So I think this, and then after that, of course, look at the specializations here, which will give you a little bit of a understanding like how they've built then specializations. But I just feel for us, we don't need to have so many. We just need to get very fixated on, 4 or 5 that you essentially start off with, which are important. So maybe it's business analytics, maybe it's to do with, strategy, finance. So just keep the basic core ones, and so that it gives us an opportunity to create, some of these smaller 1 year programs out of it.
Okay.
Hansa, what do you think?
Works. I think that makes sense. Like we said, we'll distinguish between the functional program, functional specializations, and the
Mm.
shorter industry certifications. We'll keep to so lots of things that you said, Dhaval, make a lot of good sense. So one is, of course, the fact that creating our program or reverse engineering it, keeping one of these in mind, will clearly help us to eventually have a program with international partners. So I think that's a very important thought that we should not lose sight of. Mm. I'm struggling a little bit with the number of courses that we can offer, um, you know, practically with quality and where we want to be eventually. I was looking at, for example, in the NYU, it's entrepreneurship and innovation, which I think is relatively new in India. Right now, it could be a way of positioning entrepreneurship so that it is not seen as a limited.
Yeah. Like, so instead of having like a family track or whatever it is that we are calling it, also build it as a general track so that we don't get labeled. Yeah.
Exactly.
See, if you see,
Mm.
this is
Private equity.
what universities like NYU and Kellogg have done is that they've not been labeled by anyone or by any segment saying this is what it is. And if you see that their profile, this is very interesting. That's what we have. When we look at these, you should see how they have built their profile of students.
Yeah.
That's what and I always see this every year. I would download this to see how that has actually changed. How is their kind of profile of the students actually changed? That's, I feel, an important piece. Um, so while we're looking at everything else, looking at the profile of the students is fairly important, is what I would say. I'll try to see where I can find that and send it to you. It's all on their site, but there is this entire thing that gives you the entire, you know, understanding of the profile. And that I feel is important.
Right.
Okay.
Because when you see the student, see, maybe if you see student profiles, you'll have a better idea of where they're coming from also, what industry. What I love about
Hmm.
MBA programs like these, which are really international, is that you can come for a career change also. A lot of them will come for a career change. So that means I could be running an art gallery and I need support to be coming into this program and probably focusing on strategy or entrepreneurship. And it gives me the opportunity to change my track from being an art gallery manager, having that understanding, and still going to a Procter and Gamble and working with them on starting a line, a new line, for instance. Right. And that's something why these M7s are really well known is that you can really go here and change your life. So that life-changing thing has not changed for so many years. That's why an MBA was put in place for the first, the reason was just simple, is that it can be something which is life-changing.
Hmm.
So they tell you that what industries they've looked at and where they are and all of that. But if you go back, you'll actually see their story in terms of what has really happened. And so here she'd say that she went undergraduate to Brown and then MBA Martin. She was at Pepsi and then specialization at Stern were brand. So this is like a straight shooter. This is not changed. But there'll be some of those stories which have actually changed. See now this person, let's see, she's from India. She went to Cornell and then Deloitte, and summer was strategy and then corporate finance, and um, then they kind of talk about these pieces of what she's done. And NYU is very high on EQ. So when
Okay.
they're evaluating you, they will ask for recommendation on EQ, right?
Okay.
EQ and the IQ. So
Hmm.
they have differentiated themselves in their application also by asking for this.
Hmm.
So you will have to also think that many of these MBAs, like even Kellogg does this very differently. Um, so I would say look at these two programs if you haven't, Seema.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
I'm just saying while we're building ours and we want that to be, maybe our vision is that we want that to be world class.
Mhm.
So that we can see ourselves there. Uh,
Hmm.
how do we get ourselves there, right? What are some of the things that we can think about and we can imbibe from some of these programs? Maybe we can't implement it all, but maybe there are some layers that we can.
Hmm.
And by the way, Seema, they had a very nice specialization in technology and operations.
Okay.
So I think, Seema, I think now you really have all our inputs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah,
So
so
if you see this also, the experiential learning part, what is that
Hmm.
experiential learning is what you can see. I mean, this is why what I'm saying is that India doesn't have programs like this. And we need to really get, are we building something which is that next level? Is that something that we can envision?
I think also
Hmm.
resourcing will be important, Dhaval.
No, I completely understand. But Hansa, the thing is that can we build a roadmap to it, right? Even if we start now, we take some of these philosophies together and we say, okay, at least 4 years, 5 years down the line, this is where we want to see that progression. I mean, that's the thing that you can show the cohort also, right? That what is it that we can deliver to you at this point in time. But if you're with us, this is what you can you can partner with us in that journey. So by the time we see that next 4 years also, and you will be a part of it actively, even after you graduate from here.
Hmm.
I mean, I feel this is aspirational, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it, the MBAs have been there in the US since the 1950s and 60s, right? Maybe even earlier, maybe 1940s, I would say. Literally, we've got batches from the Ross program in Michigan, which has been, we have the first president in India that graduated in 19, I think, 59. And he's still, actually here. He was like the first president for the Michigan network. It's incredible to see that, right?
So Dhaval, Harvard, of course, set up the first MBA, and it's well over 100 years old. I think the case study's been around for 100 years.
Absolutely.
The first MBA was set up in 1908.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's time to reinvent the MBA a bit. And I think that's partly what you're trying to do, right? You're saying
But we're saying
is
that
what was done.
we've not even got to our peak yet. So my issue is that we've not even got to our peak to say now that we're changing. We just want to skip and get there. So my issue is different. We need to think
Yeah.
about, have we even got to this part where we've given back? We've got such incredible kids, right? And we're giving all of them to IIM. And honestly, we know that what IIMs is doing to an extent is good, but is it the best? I don't think that all the kids from IIMs are doing are the CEOs of the top places and are doing all of those things, right? I mean, is that the next level that we have here? We don't, right? That's why most of the kids want to go to the Whartons of the world, and so
Yeah.
so why haven't we been able to build it?
I love that. Okay, I'm going to hop off the call, Dhaval. It's, I think, about 3 now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
So
just to sum it up, so
yeah,
one thing we are agreeing on is having a functional, the core specialization marketing, finance, strategy, and entrepreneurship and innovation or whatever we want to call it. So these four are fixed, and I'm going to do the reverse engineering kind, and from there the requirement starts for my foundational year. So
so we
this
also
we are clear, right?
threw operations and IT into the cauldron right now.
Okay.
can we add business analytics also?
Maybe we could club with IT, operations and IT.
Okay. So you're
Because
saying,
actually, I think SCM and operations doesn't have much uptake. While it's definitely a sector for the future, and we saw that in COVID, and we're seeing how important, last mile delivery has become.
Mm-hmm.
Experience has been that students are not very fired up by it. Most of them still head for marketing, finance, strategy. And therefore, if we create an operations and IT
Mm-hmm.
option, uh,
so
we
Hansa,
may get,
again, in this, the thing is that there's something called systems engineering, and there are these other courses which could also become a 1 year certification. So I'm thinking that maybe operations we can keep. But why I'm talking about business analytics is that is being used in almost every business that you go into. So as a matter of fact, like from Deloitte to everyone's creating business analytics as a division, because that can be used across for different, focus on different areas. So if someone comes with that skill set, that could be a bit of learning R, data science, doing a piece of all of those, understanding machine learning also while you're actually getting into that. So that anyways will be a bit technical while you're
it's in the
learning.
foundation. I
Yeah.
think, Seema, if I recollect, you've already put it in the foundation.
Yeah, it is there. Yeah.
So it's there in the foundation, Dhaval.
Okay. So
Now, yeah,
So we're thinking about adding operations management, entrepreneurship, and innovation, right? These
Yeah.
two currently strategy, finance, marketing.
yeah.
Yes.
And then you were suggesting that we do the IT piece also and add IT.
I'm suggesting that we combine operations and IT because
And
supply chain management and operations do not have the same uptake.
Okay.
So we might sort of lower the risk of having an operations management, because clearly we need a certain amount of numbers
Yeah.
to be able to run operations management. And if we pair it with a very popular area like IT,
Hmm.
providing it's academically sound, then we may have a winner there. The fact is, it also becomes a challenge, Dhaval, that if you commit to running a major and then there isn't enough uptake within your major, you have to actually request students to move to a different major, which
Yeah.
becomes a bit tough. So,
Hmm.
given that we
We
have
don't want to do
30
anything.
students,
We don't want to do anything that, at this point, we should not do anything that, you know, where we have to move this major out and do all of that. We should
yeah,
not have that at all, Hansa. So we would rather just not have it and just wait for it and then just run with things that would make sense. And
yeah.
then see the first cohort running it and then add. Don't you think that that would be more wiser for us?
So it's a balancing game, Dhaval. We have to have enough to interest people, and
Mm.
at the same time, we have to make sure that it's viable. So looking at, even 30 to 40 numbers, our specializations will run at nothing more than 10 students, like 10 marketing students, 10 finance students. Yes, certain students will do a dual major, or they will take both specializations, and therefore it you may have 12 students in class at this stage. But we have to keep that in mind. Definitely, marketing and finance are must haves. Between strategy, operations, IT, entrepreneurship, we may have to uh, choose or combine. So, what's our ideal mix? Our ideal mix would be that if we had, 10 students in marketing, 10 in finance and strategy, maybe, uh, 10 in operations and IT, and 10 in entrepreneurship, we would be reasonably satisfied, right? At this stage for this year.
So we're saying 10 in, I think the largest would come from finance, marketing, I feel finance, marketing, and strategy would be the largest that come in. So maybe we would say that because we're looking at 30 for this year, right? So we would say that most of these would, out of these 30, at least 20 would come from these three, and then the rest would come from the other two.
And therefore, we would be committed to running the operations and IT. Or so entrepreneurship, I'm picking up as something which the Mumbai area will respond positively to.
Yeah.
So I think entrepreneurship and innovation, marketing and finance would be possibly the big three.
Mhm.
Uh, Operations, if we're running, we should club it with IT and hope to get an equivalent cohort. But it means that even for this year, even if we have 3 students who are interested in operations and IT, that
Mhm.
stream, that specialization will have to continue to be offered. Creates a lot of negative feedback if we pull out a stream. I remember the history course was very unpopular in Gujarat, the history major, understandably
Mhm.
so. Uh, Schools don't even offer the humanities there, right? But even with a limited number, the first year the program was just run because we didn't want to go out there and withdraw it. It creates so much dissonance.
Got it. Okay, great. Guys, even I have to hop off. But this was a good discussion, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Helped me a lot, I should say. So I'll rework on that. Thank you so much. Um, I'll come back to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Seema.
Naval, I'm working on the vision. If there's anything that you have in mind, just WhatsApp any thoughts that you have,
Yeah.
and I'll incorporate. You
Awesome.
said that the narrative was broadly something that resonated during your meetings.
Yeah.
So while of course they will have suggestions, I'm taking that as a base
Yeah.
and our various discussions, the various thoughts that you've put down. and of course my own bit,
Yeah.
and working on that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you. So we'll try to reconnect on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure whether
And I'll let
Vikram
you
is
know
able.
when Vikram comes back and whatever other things are there. I'll connect and we'll play it.
Yeah. You're also meeting BVDU Monday, right?
Yeah. So again, Monday, I think that's probably a Zoom call. And then again, Wednesday, Friday. So there's just multiple meetings.
Good.
But
That's
then
good.
because I want to eventually get things lined up for us. So I have to even confirm with you on Monday about your plan of travel and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Sounds
Sure.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.